Today we're starting with D0ugs, a player most of the newer players in the audience definitely haven't heard of, but whose legacy was lasting. JJ himself dedicated the 2019 April Fool's event to the guy, making him the only individual player to receive such recognition to date. This will be rather short. We will cover his time active from late July to mid 2017, and then talk about the April Fool's event themed after him, which he ironically did not even witness. It could be argued that this episode will double down as the one that dedicated to Tigwiner, a player that spent the entirety of his time online being D0ugs' company and only returned days ago. Now, without further ado, let's start.
D0ugs joined on the 23rd of July of 2016. He escaped spawn and spent a few days basing on his own until the 25th when Tigwiner joined. The two had randomly met up by chance and set up a small base. They began grinding as hard as they could and kept doing so for about a month and a half. D0ugs in particular seemed to have an affinity for fishing, which is how he spent most of his time online. A good chunk of it was in front of the computer, while a lot of it was actually just AFK. And in a server with a relatively small community as it was back in the day, many began seeing his name on the tab list, though they did not know him yet. The duo ended up being involved in the matters of the famous names by pure chance. They were invited by actually Tom, then also a fellow unknown player, to his new base called Devotion. Except a mere few days after their arrival, MBHQ4 was griefed and actually Tom seized the occasion to have several big namers join him at this base. Among those were Fraz T0, Flashback, and Erpinatori. They all joined his team. D0ugs felt that the base was too inland and decided to build his house a bit further away from the main area on a little island. He spent most of his time there and his absence was noted by the other newcomers to the base, who had mostly been doing group projects. They soon found out his little hobby of fishing and it quickly became an inside joke of the group. After Devotion was griefed, D0ugs followed the others in Fraz's new group. When moving between the second and third base, Fraz and D0ugs were the ones who went ahead to pick a location. When chilling at 42k down the highway, Fraz took this infamous screenshot, which he later posted on both public and the subreddit. It became viral and the D0ugs always fishing joke spread to the rest of the player base. When Fibular founded Unity, D0ugs was one of the two players to initially decline the invite, remaining loyal to Fraz. But when he decided to not keep the team alive, D0ugs went ahead and joined Unity. Under Fibular's guidance, he began PvPing at spawn. Next to PvPing and fishing, he also came up with a new hobby, boat racing on ice. He built tracks for it, and especially at Aftermath, it was his main contribution to the base. He even made a few hidden ones in the greater spawn region with hidden entrances, some whom are still standing to this day. He joined Auschwitz when Aftermath was blown up and built a small shack there. By then he was already inactive, but before kissing goodbye to the server, he decided to take one last fat dump on 9B90's community. In late February, Fraz obtained operator status on the first temp map of 9B90. Initially containing himself, he began heavily abusing and giving operator status to others, namely Flashback and Paradigm Plague. Through them, it only spread, and soon most of the Auschwitz members had it. Even the NBT members got it. When the server was pretty much smoking ruins, D0ugs did the only thing that was left to do: /stop. To this day, D0ugs remains the only user, JJ aside, to have issued this command on the server. D0ugs became less and less active after that, and only occasionally logged on, and he has effectively quit the server since. Doug's influence can still be seen sprinkled throughout 99T history. Most notably, it can be seen during the 2019 April Fool's event, an event which was based primarily around Doug's himself. The goal of said event was to collect as many Doug's Remastered COD as possible. The main prize was $50 and a player head of the winner's choice. The server was placed on a temp map and spawn rates of mobs were kicked up for difficulty. The ground below you would turn into wool as you walked on it, and the only way to attain fish was to kill other players. Players scrambled to be the ones to hold as many fish as possible. However, one team in particular, led by WTD Puddles and Conan MC, managed to make their way to the end and get shulker boxes to hold more fish. This helped them win the event and claim the prize.
That was it for dogs. Later today we will have one more video about Zealous, so bye for a few hours.